Hey SEOs and content marketers, say goodbye to crazy spreadsheet mashups and experience unprecedented connectivity between your SEO planning and reporting data. Introducing Audience Key, technology for keyword mapping, content brief automation, and rank tracking that form an SEO strategy system providing unparalleled feedback loops between planning, reporting, and optimization activities. Put your time and energy into strategy, not data upkeep. Visit audiencekey.com and apply for a free trial today.
Hey everyone, welcome to Webcology on WMR.fm. It's the 19th of October, 2023. Time is going by remarkably quickly. Quick warning, Cyber Monday, Black Friday, the entire Christmas season is coming up way too fast. This is Jim Hedger from Digital Always Media and Christine Schackinger from Sites Without Walls.
Hello.
This is a hard time to be doing a technology show that is as open-ended as Webcology. About an hour and a half ago, Christine and I had a seriously passionate, drag them out, yell at each other argument over how to cover stories that involve politics, the Israel-Palestine conflict, far-right movements on the web and in the corporate boardrooms. You can name the panoply of ways that politics touched the world of technology. And how to cover these things is really dicey. And in our arguments, neither Christine and I were right or wrong, because we both have very strong views on what is relevant in and relevant is the wrong word, but in how to talk about really sensitive political issues in a politically secular environment. And of the two of us, I would suggest I'm the worst sinner on this in this count. I have a very hard time keeping my politics internalized. There's a lot going on in the world right now, and moving into a American election cycle, a lot of the online tech shenanigans that would otherwise be politics in an outside realm, except technology and the world and environment we work in is pretty much the realm of communications. I guess what I'm trying to say is in previous years, especially towards the beginning of Webcology, we were really able to deftly avoid some subjects that we can't deftly avoid today. There's no disclaimer to put on before we do any political coverage or technology coverage that ventures into the political, except that we deeply respect the views of all listeners and the right of all listeners to have whatever views they have. We can't help what comes up in the news cycle and what we feel is relevant to the listenership, even if we don't like it or if it's a difficult thing to cover. So that said, there's a few things we need to talk about today.
I have a one interjection though.
Yeah.
I would say that we always try to cover it from the respect humanity point of view. So that may come out as political sometimes, but it's not meant to be. It's just respect humans. I think that's how we try to cover these things.
Yeah. Again, I think that's a view of both Christine and my core politics. People first, respect people. The technology in the world and the money and all that sort of stuff comes after.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we talk about characters like Peter Thiel or Elon Musk, and we talk about their politics, it's not that we want to, it's just that these are massive players in the tech world who are interjecting their politics into our world, marketing, technology, various platforms, and all of this has an impact on search marketing, digital marketing, and digital marketers. For instance, Twitter was an incredible marketing source. I mean, oh my goodness, I bet you a bunch of advertisers really miss that stream. And that was, an environment we all used to play in. And, many people aren't playing in that environment anymore. So this was a good one. Peter Thiel, the founder of PayPal, and the founder of Palantir Digital Security, one of the more powerful tech players in Silicon Valley. Certainly one of the leaders of the what's called the PayPal Mafia, the gang of guys who came out of PayPal to create new and innovative and wild things. Twitter being one of them, Elon Musk being one of those people. Peter Thiel turns out to have been a FBI informant for the last 2.5 years or so.
Yeah, I know. Although it does seem, as anyone knows, I'm not a Peter Thiel fan. If you follow me on social, you know that, but that's for his political views. I mean, his right wing, like
hardcore right wing. That's
women,
how it is.
Yeah, he wrote an article, "Women Destroyed Capitalism when They Were Given the Right to Vote." So that's where my views come from. But to be fair, in this case, he was being asked to be an informant about foreign nations reaching out to interfere, generally speaking, in tech, like Silicon Valley. So, and also probably some election stuff in there too. So I see that as a pretty straight route to talk to him about it and for him to be an informant. Now, for people who don't know, informant is a specific thing. It's not that the FBI just called you up and said, "Hey, Peter Thiel, what are you doing?" Because they probably do that all the time. An informant is a literal document you sign. You have an agreement with the FBI that you're going to inform and you're going to do X, Y, Z, and they're going to have a handler that you're going to talk to and that kind of thing. So the person that reported this is actually a close, I don't know if friend is the right word, but he is close with Thiel. He has worked with Thiel a lot, and he's also says he's an FBI informant. So, but I don't know that it's necessarily.
Some of the targets I understand are actually kind of interesting.
Yeah.
He has big issues with Google and a lot of their involvement in China.
Yes.
And he also seems to have big issues with the MAGA movement, the Donald Trump camp, who he had thoroughly backed in 2016 and again in 2020. He seems to be informing on them as well, which is I find quite fun. Breaking news! Breaking news! I love that you just posted this in our chat. FCC has moved forward with Title II net neutrality, ruling 3-2 down party lines. Net neutrality is being reinstated.
Yes, it has been reinstated 3-2, and we don't know all the details yet, just because it just came through and we have not had a time to check it out. But they are reinstating net neutrality. Now, by the time everyone else hears this, they'll probably know that too. But I think that's a good thing. I know you and Dave had many debates, because I had many debates when I was Dave's working partner on net neutrality. So I know you guys did a whole session on it at a conference once, didn't you?
We did a whole session at an SES. Actually, we did a couple SES shows. And unfortunately, they stopped booking that segment when like only 15 or so people would show up in the audience. But they were fun, and they were always fun debates.
They were fun debates, and I got some great pictures of you guys, but that's beside the point. So yeah, I think it's a good thing that
it is a really good thing, although it's going to be disruptive in that there's been how many years now? 3-4 years where net neutrality rules have been suspended, and charged by the meter business models have evolved onto the web. So how that gets worked out over the coming weeks, or as the reinstatement of net neutrality becomes law, it'll be interesting to see. This will be a bit disruptive.
By the way, I did make a mistake, and this is not Jim's fault, it's mine, because I was trying to read it quick and get it to Jim. They're moving ahead with the plan to reinstate. So there is going to be an open public comment period. So it's not an instantaneous thing. Just so
Okay,
people know.
but it will be. It's
Yeah,
almost fait accompli. This is going to go
yeah,
down
exactly.
party lines, and now there's a extra commissioner who's a Democrat, not a Republican. And I believe that the commissioner of the FCC is a Democrat appointee, not Ajit Pai, who was the Trump appointee who did away with net neutrality rules.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good thing. We'll see though. You're right. It will be disruptive because people have operated without it being there for how many years now? 4 years, 5 years.
Okay,
So
speaking of disruptive, Google is this is the worst thing that could happen to Google from a we're keeping our secret standpoint. For years, people have tried to get Google into court to reveal how their algorithms work. And it's been almost impossible. Google would settle with litigants before going to court. They would go out of their way to avoid an open court. But you can't really settle with the DOJ when I don't know how many states at this point. I think it was like 30 some odd states or American territories, Guam, Puerto Rico, etc., are going after Google for antitrust. And in the trial, um, incredible revelations of how Google works. Often, how there's a left side and the right side of the office working together, and sometimes at counter purposes. Christine, this is fascinating.
which part are we talking about?
Well, this second story on our grid.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
Smart
Just want to make
employees
sure.
explain the success, but moreover, just the peek under the hood that we're getting at how Google operates. I mean, we've got Google manipulating query phrases to favor um, more profitable AdWord combinations.
Yep.
We've got that set on the stand. Like, that's incredible. Now we got Google saying, yeah, you know what? There's a reason we're not indexing all those pages.
We don't know if that's definitely the reason, but they definitely said they're doing a lot more with less data. So a third the data that they used to use. Now it could be for training, it could be for testing, it could be for indexing, but we do notice that the last couple of years, and Google keeps telling us not all things are going to be indexed anymore, even if it's good quality content. So yeah, it is an interesting thing. I think for an SEO, and I'm going to do this over probably the weekend because I don't have time during the week this week, but I think I'm going to go through the whole transcript from the trial and see what's all been said in there, because it seems every week you and I hear a new story about something juicy that came out, which means there's a whole lot of other information in that transcript behind it that would probably also be interesting to us who work with search, so, and Google.
Pandu Nayak is a vice president of search at Google. He's been there for 19 years. This guy is an old hand at Google. He's been not there since day one, but he was there for close. He's been there for a very long time. And he spoke of the evolution of the algorithms and how Google understands language and how it understands basically content in general.
Yeah.
Now, the web continues to grow exponentially. It is growing so fast that I don't think that there's a word to describe the rapidity of new documents being placed online.
Thank you, AI.
Thank you, AI. There you go. I mean, there's you know what? WordPress has stopped creating documents just for the heck of it. You know how WordPress would create a new document for every image that you put up? They've stopped doing that. We'll get to that story later. But AI has certainly taken up the slack and is creating documents left, right, and center. And there's no way Google can be expected to keep up. Nor should they, for goodness sake. I mean, there's just so much out there that is not important.
I will say though, because he says machine learning is like their big help here. This is a personal opinion, and my search results will not match your search results. You're in Canada, I'm here. We get different things.
Well, and also we've had different habits. Google wants to service different things. Our cookies say different stuff. All of the stuff, the panoply of stuff that goes into a result set.
Disclaimers go into that. But Matt Cutts said years ago he would never have them put machine learning in ranking signals and things that are live in search because it could break and they would never know how to fix it.
Well,
Because
and that
when
may
it,
well be true, but here we are.
well, that's what I'm going to say though. So my results, because I was talking to some people yesterday, like I looked up something like who manages my property, like my apartment complex, and I got like 2 articles from 2000, 2001. I got like several Reddit pieces. I got several things that were totally irrelevant. I got things from other cities, even though I put Las Vegas in there. So lately, for me, my results are really bad. They're just bad. They're like, I think you and I were talking the other day. I put in Las Vegas in a search, and Las Vegas stuff only showed up in the top three, and everything else was like from some other. St. Louis was one of the places.
Well, yeah,
So there's
Google is trying to make connections based on how it understands context and relationship of words. And I think it's when,
broken,
how to say it, when it was
broken.
processing using links, incoming links as a much stronger factor. It had a much stronger counterbalance to its decision-making process. Links are a important factor, but less important, and certainly less important as a um, what's the right word? As a bias determiner. Um, Word relationships are much more important in the post-BART universe. And yeah, Google's still getting it together. Like clearly
Yeah,
still getting it together. In fact, isn't that something Danny tried to say in response to a tweet from Lily Ray, who was pretty much saying what you're saying, like, hey, Google, your result sets stink these
they're
days.
terrible. They're so bad.
And she
And
was like, this isn't helpful. And Danny's like, yeah, well, this is search liaison. Danny Sullivan's like, yeah, well, this is a process we're trying to do.
it's been like 5 months on that process. It's like, I just think that the idea right now with what Google's producing that they can use far less things because they have machine learning and they can use 1/3 the data because they have machine learning and 1/3 of whatever else they're doing because they don't list everything. It just does not seem to be working right now. So we'll see in 6 months if it's any better. But
And
a lot of people are, I was just
this
gonna say, a
gets
lot of people
back
are
to
saying,
Well, this gets back to what Pandu Nayak was saying on the stand, that Google is actually using about a third less data.
mm-hmm.
And in doing that, according to Mr. Nayak, they haven't seen a decline in search quality. Again, some may argue that's not entirely true. um,
Yeah. I don't know if the quality raters are getting the same results I'm getting because, and also I just want to put this one personal thing in there. If I do not put Reddit in the search result, Google decided because everyone was adding Reddit to a search result. Now we want to see Reddit. I'm getting like 10 Reddit results in a box on a page that Reddit has no help for me. There's nothing Reddit can do for that search result. So maybe a trend should just be left as it is instead of trying to push it all the way to
although
the top.
every SEO out there immediately said, "Oh my goodness, Reddit is the new Wikipedia. Go, 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 go."
Oh yeah. This will all be fixed in 6 months when the all the SEOs and the affiliate marketers just do parasite SEO. Parasite SEO is when you use another site's strength to get to help your site get rankings. So yeah,
Well,
yeah,
um,
that's what it's called.
so
Parasite SEO.
the problem the Justice Department has, and one of the reasons they went after Mr. Nayak to get this testimony, is they believe that Google has used its extraordinary heft and weight and money and power in the search world to deny its rivals, well, about a third to a half of all users and user queries coming out of the United States, because Google makes itself the default browser of everything. Everything they can get close to and throw $1 billion at anyway. So
Yeah.
I think Google's actually in trouble here. I really think they got Google, and I'm not sure there's a way it's going to twist out of it.
Well, also because they're being double barreled because the EU is going after them for the ad issues with the ad network dominance and monopoly, and a lot of that testimony was also in this case. So EU's already said that they think the only solution is to break them up, and that's where they might be headed in this case. I don't know in the US if they're, because of the way we view things, they're going to actually break up Google, but I think there are going to be at the end of this, agreements on how things have to be handled, because even Microsoft testified, and one of the professors from MIT, on how Google's made it very difficult for anyone to compete with them. Now, of course, Microsoft has a vested interest, but I don't think the professor from MIT probably does. So, so they both agreed that Google's buying up space, becoming the default engine. All these things have led to its ability to be so dominant, which kind of makes sense, because you think Microsoft's been trying for a long time with Bing, and they've never really gotten the market share. And you always think, well, maybe it's Bing, maybe it's not. Maybe it's that the environment is too difficult to compete in because of what Google's done. I don't know that for a fact, but we'll find out when the case is resolved.
That's, you know what, that's a really strong argument that can be made. I can tell you people will argue that their click-through rate on Bing in some sectors is much stronger than their click-through rate from Google. So they feel that they're reaching a better group of targeted search users. Organic, for organic click-through rates. Or maybe it's because there are certain demographics who are more likely to use Bing than there are than use Google. I've seen the argument made a whole bunch of different ways, but importantly, Bing has been probably, and DuckDuckGo and other search engines have probably not had the opportunity to be front and center. But just as this reminds me of for some reason reminds me of AI in search. People don't want a bunch of options. They just want the one thing fed to them and they'll use it. I think this is an important one to jump to before going anywhere else, because it kind of gets a frame on the resources going into the use of AI in search and in pretty much every other aspect of creative and some very non-creative digital works. The environmental impact of the AI revolution is enormous. It's kind of makes what the generation of cryptocurrencies, the constant hashing away that computers got to do to mine crypto. It kind of makes that look like an environmental picnic. AI eats energy for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks 24/7.
It's an addict. It's very addicted. Adding generative AI to Google search increased energy use more than tenfold, according to an analysis in The Verge reported on. Yeah. Tenfold. Google search. Billions of searches a day. A lot of energy.
So not only does it add take electricity, it costs a lot of money, but it also adds a lot of processing time to the search process. And this is from people who are absolutely obsessed with speed. So think these factors into, put them together: enormous environmental impact, enormous financial cost, and the slowing down of a process that Google, Bing, etc., and others have all been about, we got to make this faster, got to make this faster, got to make this faster. It shows an absolute commitment to continuing with developing AI and AI augmentation of pretty much everything. So we're going to talk about guardrails. We're going to talk about how SGE works. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff around artificial intelligence, large language models, and the evolution of the AI environment.
And to give a quick idea before we move on, for right now, the servers that NVIDIA, am I saying that right? NVIDIA delivers are running through about 5.7 to 8.9 terawatts of electricity a year. This is reported in The Verge. But by 2027, if they ship all the ones that they believe they're going to be shipping, it'll be 134 terawatts at the top. And that is almost equivalent to the amount that all data centers use now, which is 205 terawatts. So it'd almost be doubling the electric needs for AI. And then in addition, we didn't talk about, and we won't get into today, but also there's a massive water need too for cooling and things like that. So
Now, here's what you get in return. Less options, but ultimately, likely more precise answers in a very limited range of contexts that are probably 90% of all things that search users do in the first place. And that's the thing. I mean, most search users are looking for an answer. There's this great article in where the hell did he publish it? Mike King, goodness gracious. Mike King put this great piece up in Search Engine Land, published today, how search generative experience works and why retrieval augmented generation is our future. And this is a long article, like we're not going to cover it.
We'd have to do a separate episode to cover the article.
We're going to do a separate episode to cover the article. We got to get Mike to come on to talk about it because it is just so huge and juicy. And I agree with 90% of what he's written, and some of it I would like to actually challenge and ask some questions to make sure I understand where he was coming from. But I think he makes a number of, how to say this, Mike takes a really innovative look at the search environment, how search engines work, how people work with search engines, and comes to conclusions from points of view that people mightn't actually think about. For instance, it takes about 14.3 seconds for a user to make a choice when they're on a search result page. They'll scan through articles, they'll look at the carousel, whatever. They'll scan through references and look at the carousel, maybe even glance at the AdWords. And about 15 seconds later, 14.3 seconds, 15 seconds later, a quarter of a minute, they make a choice. So that's how long they're willing to wait to get an answer. 14, maybe 15 seconds. So if SGE can't be faster than that, then the users are going to go to the blue link because they're not being satisfied fast enough. That's an assumption, but I think it, that probably works out for how humans will work.
Well, I know you don't have it up there. They don't allow Canadians to use it.
No, it's okay. I got a
proxy.
Yeah, I got
a proxy.
Yeah,
I got a VPN. Yeah, but when I use it regularly, I actually was in Firefox yesterday. I didn't realize I wasn't in Chrome because I use them for two different things. And I was like so relieved that SG box didn't show up because I'm already in the page. I'm already looking at what I want to look for. I don't find the SGE box personally to be all that helpful. I use it maybe 1 out of 100 times. But by the time it loads, it's like I'm already in the page and now the whole page shifts. Talk about a CLS issue, right? Cumulative layout shift. It's like I'm like already in the page and then it generates. And then I'm like, oh gosh, now I got to go find what I was looking for. But also they did make a change this week in the test though. The test now, it's either, do you want to generate a search or it's a much shorter box that only has probably about maybe, I would say probably 150 to 200 pixels tall. Maybe sometimes 300. So it's not taking it full page anymore. But yeah, but I could see like, it takes so long. I'm just like, I go straight to the 10 blue links. So I'm actually happy to do.
Well,
so
it's very, very, very much worth reading this article, looking at how Mike looks at the SGE experience. And I think he sees this and actually talks about it as a threat. But also acknowledges this is here, it's coming. It's one of those freight train tsunamis. You're not going to stop it by standing in front of it. You better adapt to it.
Well, the thing, he is right. It will just be honest. I'm just going to be dead honest. This is my feeling, but it's going to destroy click-through rates on anything below it because you have 4 ads on above it, and then you have that, and then often you have people also ask, and then you get to the links. Now it could change because this week the one I had.
Oh, it will. It's evolving rapidly.
Yeah,
as is Google's relation to it.
Didn't put the people also ask. They put the 10 links first and then put them a couple links down. But if you're it depends on which one they release. Now, again, the experiment ends in December. This is a massively expensive, from everything from the amount of servers to the power to everything, the data centers they have to run it. So we'll see, because now they're also, and I'm going to jump real quick to another story because it's a real quick one, but it ties in now, is they're adding creating images and writing too. the SG. Now, personally, I think they should just create a button that, a tab that says create and put it there, because I don't know why anyone would sit there and do that while they're searching. But on the other side of that, that's also going to massively increase when people are doing image creation and writing in there as well. Their costs, just costs. So we'll see how it affects their ad revenue for what they launch with after December.
I'm not sure who wrote the piece. It's not in our grid. I'm just throwing this up. I saw it the other day. I think it was Dwayne Forrester who wrote it. Talking about how search with AI is very likely in a couple years to start adopting a social format where we're sharing our generative discoveries, for want of a better term. And again, I'm not sure exactly how Dwayne phrased this, but in his conversations with people at Bing and people who are actually making this is what they're talking about. So there's a bunch of different, how to say this, plans that the search engines have to change the environment in which we get, use, share, and relate to information. And a lot of it's scary. I really hope that they're thinking this through long and clear, and taking a long-term approach. Because there's a story in here that actually really spooked me. And it touches on how a lot of AI content is working its way into the news. And
Yeah.
that's not safe. That's not right. That's not, it's maybe future AI content, but today's AI content should not be filtering its way into the news and should not be being, how to say this, by and large, it shouldn't be the facts that become public record.
It definitely shouldn't, because hallucinations. I follow on LinkedIn a lot of the researchers that run like these companies, like, or the head of research, not to run the companies, but head of research, AI research, Hugging Face, DeepMind, Google, all this stuff. And they have stated that the hallucination issue cannot be fixed, like right now. And maybe they said like 5-10 years, but right now it's still going to produce a lot of the time bad information. And you and I already had that story last week, where the Bing chat put out the bad information and the person put it into their blog to show it as bad information, but then it was picked up by search as actual information and then regenerated into Bing chat as factual information.
And this is precisely how news content created by AI, which, again, 99.999 times out of 1,000 may be dead on factual. Oh, I'm sorry, 99 times out of 100 may be dead on factual, but it might not.
Yeah, and the rates are actually much lower. They generally tend to run between the models between 60 and 50 and 70%.
Again, I'm not sure about stuff that actually makes it into news coverage. I'm also assuming for
I'm just talking
human
about
intervention and being as exaggerative as possible in the example, but to be charitable as possible in the example, even if there's this infinitesimal amount of doubt that could be erased by actually having a human do it and another human edit it to verify and fact check it before it goes out. This is the public record. It has to be done that way. And it's much harder to do it. It's much more expensive to do that way, but it's the way we've done it, and it's the way we've evolved to do it for a really good reason. Sort of like having a timestamp. Having human intervention to observe, and then another human verify what was observed.
Yeah, it's so hard, right? Because they hallucinate because they're just generating text. They're not. Still, a lot of people don't understand. They're not search information retrieval, not pulling back information like that. So it's very difficult, because from one of the red team people I talked to, who like tries to protect their company from model issues, they're saying that they have to do everything on the way out. So you put in whatever you put in, and on the way out, it does a lot of the filtering. But it's a language model, so it's so easy to get around a lot of that stuff, because the protections they put in are just what they could conceive conceptually with language. And well, people use language in all sorts of different ways, and then that makes it not that hard to get around a lot of the protections.
There are ways that Chat GPT 4 is and Bing are refining prompts as they go along to try to weed out incorrectly generated information.
Oh, you mean the image
And
prompts?
well, not just image prompt, no, not just that. It's just refining and re-asking,
Oh,
doing
yes,
bias
human
checks,
training.
refining and
Yes.
re-asking. Um,
And yet,
so there, no, and yet mistakes are being made left, right, and center.
no, no, no. I
Oh,
was gonna say,
if
and yet, ChatGPT 4 is more susceptible to biases and getting around the safeguards in the model.
Well, yeah, we're gonna get to that in a second.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
self-eating tail has happened over, or snake eating its own tail has happened over and over and over again.
Yes.
It's just happening at a much larger and faster scale now. Um, if you have you ever had a friend, or have you ever had the experience where you were a TA, a university
Yeah.
TA? Were
Yes,
you?
I was a
So
graduate
you had to
assistant for
mark
4 years.
you had to mark first year
Yeah,
students' papers.
I
That's
did.
terrifying, isn't it?
I taught first year students
But
even.
teaching them is one thing. Reading what they write is another.
Yes,
Teaching
it
them,
was
you're
very
just talking
hard.
to them. You ain't hearing what they're thinking. When you're reading,
Yeah.
there's that, and then it's terrifying. They
Well,
can't
let's add
write
to
the
that.
so.
There's a special program in North Carolina where people who were disadvantaged
Hmm?
could come to college. So usually their skills that way were not, it was something you had to work with them a lot on. So yeah, I'm very familiar.
One thing I found even more terrifying than bad writing was bad research. Bad writing I can deal with. You just can't express yourself well. But you want to become an engineer and you haven't researched this properly, that bridge is going to fall down. That's scary.
Right, right.
And that's a thing that you find in a lot of generative AI content right now. But again, um, it's not like the AI engineers aren't aware of and understand that this is their Achilles heel. So they're working on finding ways to, and I love the reprompt, re-ask, check for bias, reprompt, re-ask, bias check. Eventually you hone into the right stuff, except um and this happened with early rudimentary chatbots. If you how they become racist really fast, like really fast. If they train on open content, and I mean, my goodness, why don't nice people write rants about how good everything could be if people were just nice to each other?
People
Because really
do.
angry people, no, they don't.
Not
Because
as many
really
people.
angry people write a lot of rants about how bad this group or that group or this group or that group are,
Well,
and
there's a
how
difference though. Those groups are organized, right? And so they have like publications and blogs and social media posts, and they help. We don't have the good people,
well,
human
you never
beings.
been part of a glee club.
Like, well, yeah, but we don't, but we don't put out blogs and
and
articles
and
and
that's the point.
stories
That's
and
and
yeah.
so when AI or what were they before AI? I lost the word for them. I called them chatbots, but that's actually the wrong term.
Yeah, because they
Um,
say chatbots now too. They were different, but the back then it was just machine learning. I think is mostly what they
well, yeah,
called
the,
them.
the the early machine learning models, when released to the open web, would immediately go to
Yeah.
4chan and absorb it like it was Wikipedia.
Well, and it is a legitimate machine learning term. This is not like a slang. They call it the Nazi problem, and OpenAI supposedly solved the Nazi problem by having a bunch of humans in Kenya go through all the worst materials that they were going to be training on and remove that, plus
But that
putting
doesn't
in
solve the
billions of
problem.
parameters. But it
That
doesn't
doesn't
solve the
solve the
problem
problem. It just
exactly.
has a bunch of people get paid a whole bunch of low wage to see and deal with awful stuff.
Yeah, PTSD was really high with those people. But the thing is that if you took the model out after you cleaned it all up, right? Took the car out, it's all clean, and you don't take it anywhere, and it stays in an encasement like a garage. Well, it may never get dirty again. But the problem with OpenAI and the other AI models, especially smaller ones, is they go out into the world and they get exposed again by people's information they put in, information it trains on, and then they have the whole problem again because the car went out and it got rained on and it got some snow and it got some dirty stuff on the tires. Now it's not clean anymore because it was exposed to the world. And that's what happens with the AI. Same thing. It goes out in the world and it finds all that stuff again, and it all has to be readdressed because what you used, the language you used 2 years ago to say something hateful, changed a lot of the times because people know about like filters, and so they try to get around it by using different language.
So this is coming up in some generative output, and although the nobody wants to see it come up, the engineers don't want to see this come up. Sam Altman does not want to see this kind of stuff come up, but nevertheless, it is. Just be incredibly aware that this is happening, that this will happen, that this could happen to your content. And if you set and forget, I mean, this is like setting forgetting your AdWords back in the days when Google really was manipulating AdWords costs directly. You just don't set and forget because you're going to get in trouble doing that. Just
You
same with your
can.
content.
And actually, the paper from Princeton, which spawned this article that we're reading today from the New York Times, Princeton, Virginia Tech, Stanford, and IBM. So the guardrails that they put in when you start fine tuning the models actually are not very sturdy. And I like to liken it to, I used to know a guy who ran a gaming, like a gaming black hat network, right? So to make money off of people gambling online. And he has 70,000 sites. Now imagine you take those 70,000 sites and you turn them on to some topic that you want to damage the AI, right? It doesn't require 70,000 sites. So let's just say it's 70,000.
Why the hell not?
Yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't require a whole lot.
The more the merrier,
anyway,
right?
Right. So it's called data poisoning in large language models, or there's other terms for it too. And what it means is that someone could use large amounts of content to put bad things in.
Change.
Yeah, and then it pulls it up like some fact, which is why personally I always say this: I don't think SG, I don't think it belongs at large language models in search because people assume search has factual or at least trust factors in there. And what comes out of the SG, as we know already from just last week's story, where the guy got the bad information accidentally in there, it can be bad information, or it could be it could be worse. It could be disinformation to like harm a sect of people. So it's very concerning, and it's something that's very difficult for them to protect against. Everyone I talk to in AI who does the red teaming protection, about this kind of stuff, says it's very, very, very hard to protect. It's a very difficult thing.
Well, as the helpful update is teaching people, and again, you can talk about other aspects of the helpful update. One thing it did do is it's swathing through craptastic AI generated content, and it seems to have found it. And at the very early days, it seemed to have actually found that content, isolated, and made it #1 in the rankings. And now it seems to be going through it with a sigh, a farmer's sigh.
Oh, did I say something about that like a long time ago? I think I did.
Well, again, now
I am sad to
that
see people lose their
said,
sight.
there is still craptastic result sets coming
There
in.
are.
And again, Danny Sullivan, search liaison, and you know what? I'm siding with Danny on this one. What Google's trying to do in reordering how it looks at content is so insanely complicated that it's going to take a couple of so Google's index is a photocopy of the web, right? The last time Google saw all this stuff, and it's constantly updating its photocopies of various parts of its own index. And as it updates itself, updates its photocopies of your pages, it reevaluates those pages against everything else in the web. In one way or another, it's reevaluating against everything in its index, and that takes a lot of time. Like, I'm serious, it takes a lot of time to do that. Days and days and days and days, 2-3 weeks at a time it could take to regurgitate everything at the speed of light, given how much stuff's in its index. We've all sat there and watched our massive audit reports tick away on our computer day after day after day, right? That's
Oh
on,
yeah,
that's only with like 2 or 3 million URLs.
yeah.
Imagine 2 or 3 trillion URLs.
I had one site I couldn't fully crawl that was about, yeah, about it was 2 billion URLs that I couldn't fully crawl it.
Okay, so
So
you're getting into Rip Van Winkle territory if at
yeah,
5 URLs per
it
second.
for most of what we know about what Google tells us, it generally takes about 3 months for them to update something. That's for like when they put Penguin into the core model, when they do HCU, when they do core updates, they'll have about a 3 month to 4 month window, they say.
So as it goes through and again just rejigs everything from helpful, I think it could take up to 3, maybe 6 months to start seeing what Google wants, what Google believes it wants to generate. And who knows what happens in the meantime, because this is Google, right? They're going to get scared of their own success halfway through and do a 180 or something, because this is Google. They always do that. Core update finished. The October 2023 core update
Yeah.
finished rolling out, I think earlier today.
Yeah, the core update and the HU seem to be particularly like Penguin and Panda back like a decade or so ago. Like very, very, very aggressive if you got hit by them. Like I have sites and nothing happened.
Mm-hmm.
But I am reading, like I think one of Barry Schwartz who wrote an article about it. It was the HU, the core update, I forget which one. I think he had like 600 plus comments. Lots of people. So if you're in search and this is your first time going through this with Google, because I think the last time we had them this rough were there was one core update or two in the beginning of core updates, but like that multiple algorithms back to back killing your websites. I think that was probably Panda and Penguin, right? Like, have we had anything since then? This might be the first time anyone's experienced this kind of massive destruction.
Back to back like this, there's I got a feeling about something that happened around September, August last year with reviews and a core update, but that's the closest I can think of back to
Yeah,
back
and
overlappings.
yeah, and reviews
Um,
kind of niche. These two are like very broad. So
okay, so this is a humble brag. I'm so sorry to do this, but um, I got this weird like niche site. You're only going to this website if you're working in a specific industry doing a specific thing. Okay. There's we measure success in hundreds of visitors a day, not thousands or tens of thousands. And hundreds of visitors a day is wonderful for this site. It's great for this site. So it had by far the most successful Monday on in Google Organic yesterday than it's had. I'm sorry, this week than it's had ever. The week before, it had the most successful Tuesday or Wednesday or something. Been trying to keep it really simple in my approach to SEO and just do exactly what Google says to do. Period.
whoa, that's so radical.
Well, it
You're
is
not looking for
actually.
somebody's blog post on how to like game it.
No.
I do the same thing. Sometimes I feel like I have imposter syndrome because I'm like, I'm just doing all the good things Google wants me to do. And other people are like, I did this thing and this thing. I'm like, okay, well, I just do the good things Google wants me to do.
Well, I
So
think the difference is neither of us are doing affiliate. Neither of us are doing our own things. Neither of us. I'm not going to touch Black Hat because if I did,
yeah.
the corporations I work with would not be working with me anymore at all ever. But how to say this? I don't feel rewarded as much as this is the way I expected the machine was supposed to work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Definitely.
It's in Google's best interest to tell you what to do right. It is not in Google's best interest to screw you around, unless it wants to shake money out of your pockets, but that's a different show topic altogether. But in the organic world, I remember when we used to totally distrust Google. They're trying to mess us over and trying to dissuade us or to give us their version of disinformation. And I just don't understand why they would do that.
Would
Never
do
did
what?
understand. Well, I never understood why Google would lie to SEOs about how it works. That
It
never made
lies
sense to me.
They lie got a couple things that they want to put a squash on, like link buying, like links don't work. But generally speaking, no, I totally agree. They don't straight out lie about something that actually is a thing, and they don't straight out lie about thing when they tell you something isn't a thing. So they may like go, links aren't as important to content when links are still like super strong. But they don't come out and say don't worry about links, because that would be a lie. And
That would be
they
way
don't
off
do
base.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't do that. When Google says like we don't use X, and then I see like 10 articles on how they know that they do, even though Google said they don't, it's almost 99.9% of the time that's just wrong. There's been a couple occasions where there's some SEOs who tested something and found out Google was saying something not true. But like the thing that we just talked about with click-through rates, and now people think click-through rates is this big thing, and it's like, no, Matt Cutts told us years ago how it works. If they have a search result and they see a bunch of the results are getting pogo stick, which means just jumping out of the one they went into and going into another and then into another, so they're not getting what they need, that's an intent issue, and then they rejigger those results. But it's not a ranking factor. But I see like since it
I don't
came out now, I
care
see
about
like 100 articles that click-through rates a ranking factor.
when I was suggesting earlier, I don't care about click-through rates being a ranking factor. For me, click-through rate is a success metric for my client's website. I've gotten it
Right.
into the top 10. I've gotten it into the top 3.
Oh yeah, I'm just
That's a
saying as
given. That's
far
what
as
I'm
how
getting
this
paid for.
works.
But more
Yeah.
importantly is the copy there, is the description, is the title. Is that compelling enough to get the click? And that's
But
where
I'm more
CTR is important to me.
It is, but I'm more just saying how the when Google says something, it gets misconstrued.
Oh,
Like
sure.
it's
Yeah,
like,
well, whatever. Google
yeah,
says lots of stuff that gets misconstrued. Heck.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
If you're not seeing rich results today, that mightn't be because you did something wrong or your schema's off or anything. Google may be bugging out. It was
Yeah.
reported earlier today, and Search Engine Roundtable covered it. Event lists aren't showing up in search results snippets right now, so don't freak out. Don't do anything crazy to your website. Don't bang your head against your desk because it's Thursday afternoon and you want to go watch a ball game or something. Don't worry about it. Let Google work this one out. Your rich results are probably coming back again. In other words, their
Yeah.
problem, not yours.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I do think that, I mean, they have decreased the number of snippets they show, I think, because of SGE, but we have gotten no word from Google that they removed the snippets, that snippet.
So, Google Bard is now showing side by side results of different drafts of how it might create something for you, and it wants you to tell it which is best. It's not paying you for this, by the way. Don't
Yeah,
log in first, but essentially you're training Bard.
yeah, you're training Bard. They need people to tell them what results are best. I guess we'll see how much people want to give the information back to Google, but that's all it is. It's just like which way we wrote it. Do you like it better?
Yeah.
So
And by the way,
more
there's no reward for being involved in this.
no, there is none. And if for people who don't know, because I think we forgot to say on the show, it's just a real quick thing. If you're like, how do I get this SGE thing? If you have a beaker on your top of your Chrome, it has to be in Chrome, your Google search page, you click on that and it takes you to Labs and you sign up for it. So that's how you get the SG if you don't have it already.
Where to next? Okay, so everybody, we've got about 5 minutes left in the show, so we want to get through a few things quickly. New WordPress is coming out, or a new version of WordPress 6.4 release. It's apparently got 100 performance improvements. Most involved, I mean, it's Core Web Vitals. It's concentrating on Core Web Vitals. Wix did this a few months ago. I know that both Shopify and BigCommerce have come out. Oh, I'm sorry, Shopify and I think Magento have come out with Core Web Vital focused updates. Everyone's getting on this Core Web Vitals chip right around when Google's saying, yeah, it's important, but we were kind of exaggerating.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So apparently WordPress is doing this because many of its popular templates, the templates that come default, the 20 something called templates, they were showing significant performance slowdowns. The 2024 performance testing was 58.8% slower for largest contentful paint. Client-side performance, 93.5% slower in time to first byte. Overall load time, 3.9% slower on individual posts. Just terrible numbers. Just terrifying. You're a WordPress engineer. You look at this and you go, "Oh my God, we're going to fail." So they've come out with a number of improvements. Working, the how scripts are served up and loaded. I love this one. No longer creating unnecessary attachment pages.
Oh, thank goodness. Because you get a site that's on WordPress that has like 20,000 pages, and you're like, do I take them all off, or are they actually contributing some way? They probably aren't, but it's a big gamble.
Well, and I mean, just and the research involved. You have to, like, the amount of fine-tooth combing you really want to do to get the best performance you can out of WordPress. They're going to try to do all that fine-tooth combing for you.
Yay.
So I think this is the templates are going to be cached and load faster. Very likely going to be using a whole bunch of browser caching built right into templates. You know how your how your reports at, like, say, GT Metrics or over at
Web page test?
yeah, WebSpeed. I keep thinking of
Web page
Web
test.
Dev.
It's
I
web
call it
page
Web
test,
Dev in
yeah.
my head, but yeah, WebSpeed tests.
Web page test.
They always tell you to get rid of redundant pieces of Java or pieces of CSS, and they'll even show you what parts of the CSS or Java aren't actually being used as to get the page to load. WordPress is eliminating a lot of that redundant stuff.
Great, that's awesome.
So it'll be interesting to see if these performance enhancements are actually really big enhancements, or if they still keep triggering all these problems. But I'll bet you that the WordPress guys went through a Lighthouse report or a page speed metrics report and said, okay, we'll just eliminate all this. We'll do this. We'll do this. We'll do this all automatically.
Yeah.
This will never come up again.
Well, to stay competitive, they
That'll
had
make
to.
them happy.
WordPress's biggest issue is slowness, so they have to stay competitive. So it's good to see them do this.
Yeah. Okay, I think we got time for one last story, and then we got another. Then we got to get out of here. We're at the top of the hour. Where do you want to go?
We kind of skipped all the Twitter stuff today, and
Yeah, it's make me mad. I hate Twitter. I'm so mad at them.
I know, but they're quick stories. Like they're not going to take us very long. We could
blocking Bing
get
search.
through all three of them in 2 minutes. So
blocking Bing search. Why would they do that?
I don't know, because it's just Musk, and he had a day where he didn't like Bing. I really actually don't know the reason. I'm just joking, but that's literally half the time. That's why he does something. So, but yes, they will be blocking. They did it to Google a while back, and then they let Google have access again. So,
well,
so we'll see.
I think that they're actually blocking everybody, but they singled out Bing entirely. I saw a user agent star dot and then disallow under that.
Does look like it, but that does say user agent Bing bot, and then it says user agent. It says disallow user agent.
Yeah, but but underneath it, they did a default one as well. They singled out Bing bot above that, which was kind of skivvy.
Yeah.
$1. Would you pay $1 to use Twixter?
Oh God, that's so hard. I don't want to ever give that person money. That's my.
I mean, we're not talking $8 a month. We're talking just a single $1 a year to prove you're real.
Now he stole this from Spoutable, who announced it like 3 days before he did. Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to figure it at the time. But it is for new accounts right now. He's testing it in the Philippines and New Zealand. So you would have to pay $1 a year to interact on Twitter, basically.
Okay. So. Lastly, this is so stupid. Oh my God. So if you fire all the people who work in your security and there's a whole bunch of function that Twitter had that provided protection for people behind the scenes. Either you could report things anonymously to journalists, or maybe like I don't know, Peter Thiel, you were a FBI or CIA informant and needed a channel to talk to them, which was very super secret. Yeah, well, that doesn't exist at Twixter anymore, because they
But
fired all the security people.
the link that you use to link to something like Telegram, like the CIA did, so people could talk to them, is vulnerable to exploitation, meaning it can be sent somewhere else because of the way they use the shortener. So if you're using a shortener for anything important, or using a link on there for anything important, realize they shorten it, and that causes a vulnerability, and it could lead to an issue. So
Yeah. So
and then one last thing on Twitter, just because it's just real quick, but Twitter might leave the EU because of the Digital Service Act and the EU, which sets forth rules about spreading harmful content or limiting certain user targeted practices. So Musk said that he might decide not to be in the EU anymore.
no, that's what, $260 million he's giving up.
Exactly. It never makes sense.
Okay, on that, we have gone full circle. So you've listened, trying to find a way to get back to the, oh my God, we had to do so much politics. Why don't we just do technology? Because politics has been inserted into everything.
Yes, it has. It has.
Friends,
Let's focus on humans.
you've been listening to Webcology here on WMR.FM, recorded live to podcast on the 19th of October, 2023. On behalf of Christine Schackinger from Sites Without Walls, this is Jim Hedger from Digital Always Media. Stay safe, be kind, listen to the other side as much as you possibly can, even if it drives you crazy. Be well, rank well, be kind to each other, and we'll talk to you next week.
Bye, everybody.